depth, and they talk to a lot of experts and people, scientists and such, and doctors and professionals, other than people like us.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, whatever.
We're couch talkers.
Right. Yeah. I always tell my wife, and I try to show documentaries about Loch Ness Monster all the time. She's like, there's no Loch Ness Monster. She gets so angry at me. I'm like, no, it's a thing. But there's a weird head. There's a big snake thing.
Loch Ness is my favorite of all the cryptos.
I think it's mine too. I know. You know what? Honestly,
Bigfoot's cool.
Bigfoot is a big one because that's more. I mean, it's vast wilderness out there, and there's caves, and there's tunnels, and there's there's low-lying areas, and there's higher areas that man can't get to or survive in certain climates. I mean, there's theoretically there are ways that could happen.
Yeah.
Evidence is all over the place, and there are some weird documentaries about that, which I've been bulking up on my documentaries. Yeah. I've been preparing for our guest, which we have a guest today.
We have a guest.
Talking about what we're talking about. Paranormal, supernatural. We'll delve into some murders and killings and killers and...
True crime.
True crime. Because it all ties together.
Yeah.
But how do we tie it to pop culture?
Pop culture ties itself to that so well.
It does. Because where there is a will, there is a way. Where there's an imagination, you're going to get some form of creativity and art.
Exactly.
That goes along with anything. How many retellings have there been of like Dracula or Frankenstein? Even like just loosely based on that.
You know, how many movies and books have been spun off from actual
events? Yeah, based on a true story.
Yeah.
This could happen in your neighborhood. But first, as always, we'll get into some important the births and deaths. I think births. Yeah, I mean, deaths would probably tie in better, actually, to today.
Deaths are depressing, even though we're going to have a show about ghost and true crime.
And murder, yeah. But it'll be uplifting and cheerful. How? Stay tuned. 1935, comedian, actor, Rip Taylor. Oh! Roger wanted to throw confetti. We don't have confetti.
No. I didn't want to vacuum.
We're too old for that, and it's just a ridiculous premise to be famous.
We're too old for that. Rip Taylor was born in 1935.
Yeah,
damn it.
And that was funny then.
Yeah.
So, 1966, the ever-dreamy Patrick Dempsey, actor and race car driver. Dr. McDreamy. Yeah, our guest she's been swooning since we brought his name up. We'll get some fans down here. 1977, Orlando Bloom, actor and producer. He's been in Lord of the Rings.
Pirates of the
Caribbean. He's tied into some pop culture. I haven't seen a lot of them lately. I don't know what happened to him. You know what happened to him? Anybody?
Not since the
What happened to Orlando Bloom? Nobody knows.
He's not in Bloom.
No. People are like, they get him confused. Orlando Bloom and what's the other guy? He was in that Dracula Untold. I can picture his face. He's got a face that's like Orlando Bloom's face. So I think he got kind of lost in the mix. You know what I mean? People are like, you guys look too much alike. I'm confused. I don't want to watch your movies. I don't know who I'm rooting for. 1990, Liam Hemsworth, brother of Thor, the one of three.
Yeah. Three.
Actually, the third one made an appearance in Thor Ragnarok.
And on the stage production thing.
And on the stage production, yeah. That's pretty awesome. That's a pretty cool family. Those guys seem awesome. 1915, Mark Goodson, which American game show producer. He gave us The Price is Right, which is a mainstay of every time I skipped school or was sick
at home. Yeah,
I would have to watch soap operas with my mom all day.
But,
so I'm very in tune with it was Santa Barbara at the time because it's like.
But with The Price is Right, as long as you bet $1. You're good.
You're in.
You're gonna be good.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, that really just ruins everybody's day too. Which what was I just playing Family Feud? It's not Price is Right, but still, they're all the same thing. Yeah, game shows. 48, Carl Weathers, you son of a bitch.
Oh.
Actor, hero. He helped fight the Predator. Action Jackson. You remember the movie Action Jackson?
Yeah.
Oh, man, the movie Action Jackson is fantastic. If you haven't got a chance to watch it, with Carl Weathers. He was in Predator. Anyways. 1963, Steven Soderbergh, director, producer, screenwriter. He's given us quite a few things. His name's been taglined on lots of stuff. Name one.
We're doing so good today.
Shoot.
So who's next?
It's always with our preparation. Yeah, 1967, Emily Watson, famous English actress. 68, LL Cool J, American rapper and actor. We say we weren't going to do rappers anymore, but
it's LL Cool J.
It's LL Cool J. And
ladies love Cool James.
And he'll knock you out because Mama said so. He's done a lot of things. He was on that lip sync show now, which gained some popularity and stuff like that.
Movies.
And NCIS New Orleans or one of those crime scene something shows.
He was in that shark movie.
Yeah, he's the cool guy. He was in the shark movie where the sharks could swim backwards because that makes any sense. Sharks will die. That's what will happen. That's not based on true facts. 1969, Jason Bateman, whom I am just, honestly, I really like Jason Bateman. Even since Teen Wolf 2,
Yeah.
I've liked Jason Bateman. I
Well,
like him in Paul. I like
he's
him
the
on...
ultimate everyman.
He
You
really
can always
is.
relate to him.
You're
He's
like,
the
"Hey,
middle of
your
the
buddy."
road guy.
Yeah. He's just a regular dude.
Now,
And he's
yeah, but
hilarious. Arrested
Arrested
Development,
Development.
he was fantastic on. And honestly,
Best
that
show.
became a big part of pop culture. I mean, that show was one of them binge-watching shows.
It's
It was
such a
just-
well-done show.
and
So well-written.
Every character and everybody involved with it. Like Always Sunny in Philadelphia and
Yeah.
stuff. They had those characters that are kind of relatable and weird, like you and your friends.
Well, any show that, like, third season, and they bring a callback to something from season 1.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, comedy
Love
comes
that.
in threes. That's how it works. 1969, also, Dave Grohl. American singer, songwriter, guitarist, drummer of Nirvana, which was our first introduction to Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
I Know It Was Mine, which was marvelous. He's still just, he's a beast on the drums. He's just crazy to watch. And he's fantastic to watch.
I was never a huge Nirvana fan.
Really?
It never sunk with me.
Yeah,
I like the grunge movement, but never
I
hit
ate
with
up the
Nirvana.
grunge era.
But I've been listening to a little lately, and I realized, holy crap, that the drumming in those sessions phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, it's just.
If they're a good band,
it's
it just never clicked with
noise.
me.
It's fantastic. And of course, Foo Fighters. They're great. They're compared to some of the music that he does, like some of the metal bands that he gets with, and the other covers that he does, and Probot and oh my God, Eagles of Death Metal, stuff like that. And, you know, good friends with Josh Homme of Queens of the Stone Age, and they've all got projects, and they did one called Mantra. It was him, Josh Homme, and Trent Reznor.
Yeah.
Hanging out. And there's one with vocals, one without. Both are fantastic. I mean, the guy, he's all over the place. He's excellent with his fans. You know what I mean? He's just become this entity.
Now, my favorite, though, is that heavy metal Christmas album where he does the drums behind Lemmy on Run Rudolph Run.
And ZZ Top guitarist was in there, I think.
Billy Gibbons.
One of the Billy Gibbons. Yep. All right. On the 15th, in 1913, Lloyd Bridges, American actor, gave us a couple other Bridges.
Yeah.
So we can thank him for that. But no, his movies were great too.
Yeah.
Airplane. Love him, Airplane. Hands down. 1948, Ronnie Van Zant, singer-songwriter.
The three Van Zandt
One
brothers.
of the three. Speaking
Ronnie,
of,
Johnny, and Donnie.
apparently they come in threes on the 15th. And Regina King, American actress. She's been in quite a few things lately. I see her name. I'm not too familiar with her, but I know. I'd be completely amiss if I did not talk about 1922. A lady was born. A marvelous woman.
Goddess
Betty White.
among women.
Oh, she's
love her.
she's even still amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, she's still sharp, and it's just she's fantastic to watch, and she cracks me up. I mean, I've sat through Sandra Bullock movie with her in it,
Just for her.
and Ryan Reynolds. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh,
Betty
Sandra
White
Bullock
is
was
the
in
best.
that. Didn't notice. 1942, Muhammad Ali,
Oh, the greatest.
boxer activist. Yes, he was floating like butterflies and
Stinging like a bee.
Yes. 49, Andy Kaufman, actor and comedian. Which, ironically, Jim Carrey was born in 62, and he played Andy Kaufman, in that
Man on the Moon.
the docudrama Man on the Moon. Yeah. Oh man,
It was so good.
that was good. It was pretty intense too. Weird take for Jim Carrey. People were like, "Oh, what are you doing?" But
Nailed it.
yeah, he did nail it. The 18th. Is this the 18th? Yeah, 1955. Kevin Costner. Unfortunately,
He brought us Waterworld.
he brought us Waterworld.
He brought
I
us
was
Waterworld.
Literally about to say that. Get out of my head, man. Also, The Postman.
Yep.
Dances with Wolves.
Tin Cup.
Tin Cup. Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
Thank you. If you build it, they will come. He's done a lot of good movies. Even more recently, he popped up in a few like actiony ones. Where I'm
He
like,
played
Superman's
Clark Kent's dad.
Yeah, he played Superman's dad, which is cool. I gotta give anybody credit. Comic book movies. 69, Dave Bautista, wrestler, martial artist. He knows a lot of jujitsu. I've seen that guy actually do jujitsu. He's scary. He plays Drax the Destroyer in Guardians of the Galaxy. He came out as like a deacon or a pastor or something like that. And, like when he came out in wrestling and stuff like that, he was just this big guy walking around with the Dudley Boys. Or no, Devon Dudley. When he branched off from his brother and he was like, found religion or something, so he carried around like this cash box on a chain, looking all menacing. That was about it. That was his thing. And now look at him.
Oh.
He's all over the place. He's going to be in...
he was in James Bond and
Yeah?
Spectre. He was in Blade Runner
Yeah?
2049.
Yeah, he's popping up in a lot of things, which is cool. I like to see that happen if they're, worthy. They're not shitty wrestlers that try and do something. All right, we'll move it along. The 1943... 19th of 1943. Rephrase. Janis Joplin, singer-songwriter. was
amazing.
Born. 46, Dolly Parton, another singer-songwriter, born. Also actress from 9 to 5. Still a great movie.
Yeah.
1954, Katie Sagal.
Yeah.
Peggy Bundy.
Leela.
Futurama. Leela on Futurama. She is a Cyclops. Also on Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
So she's been tied to a lot of pop culture stuff. And she's done a bunch of voice work for various other things. She actually sings really well, too.
I've heard that.
She's got a beauty of a voice. And 71, Sean Wayans. One of the many Wayans. I don't know which one. It's Sean.
It's one of the Wayans.
It's not Damon. It's not Damon Wayans. Damon Wayans, and it's not any of the other ones. So, Sean Wayans. So yeah, that wraps that. So today we are going to venture forth into the mystery and into the unknown. So if you can join us, if you will,
if you dare,
if you dare, ghosts, death, fears. Some people's darkest fears, dark places. That's where we're going to go without leaving the couch.
Ooh.
I know. Sound good. Yeah, we'd do like promo pieces for that. That'd be great. But we have a guest for such things. And
we can't do it alone.
We can't. I'm only as well versed as documentaries on Amazon Prime will allow. And you live in some dark territories. You have skulls on your scarf, so obviously you like things. These areas. You like things of that nature, and it's a fascination of a lot of people. I mean, things scare you. Let's investigate. Scooby-Doo.
Yeah,
like we discussed last week.
Yeah,
they teach you not to be afraid of these. You never know what it could be.
So I got into it in the 70s with a show called In Search Of.
Okay.
Hosted by Leonard Nimoy, where they would talk about, Creature from the Black... Or
it's a precursor to your Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, Unknown Mysteries, that ghosts...
Because I got Unsolved Mysteries was the one that
Loch
I
Ness
came
Monster,
up with. Yeah, Loch Ness Monster, and things of that nature. All right, but... Okay, we'll bring in Julie Rathshack. Julie, you are our guest for the day. Pull up. We'll slide Roger down. He needs to go over there. So you can come be comfy by us.
I said he could sit on my lap.
Yeah, we heard you say that.
He ain't going for it.
He was going for it, but that doesn't make for good television with what we're doing. Hi, honey. Glad you can make it. And we've met before. We're old friends.
Oh,
old drinking buddies.
Drinking buddies.
Yes, it would be. For whoever's watching, that's not true. I bartended. She happened to be in there. Some
but he
guy
left such an impression on me. I remember you.
Then that's good. But you know Roger.
I do. He left an impression as well.
He leaves many. He leaves many. And you guys probably talk a lot about ghosts and such.
Yes.
Because you had something to do with a book.
I did. Me and my friends, Rob and Nicole, wrote a book called Ghosts of Grand Rapids. Mm-hmm. It was released. You do have a copy.
I do have a copy.
It was released in 2014. And... I'm working on another one right now.
Yeah?
So we do ghost tours. It's coming. Roger's poking me along.
Yeah, that's good.
There's a joke there. I'm leaving it alone.
Please stop poking me.
That's right.
Yeah.
I am married. Yeah, we do ghost tours downtown. I've been doing them for 4 years now, and they're very popular. We've got 2 routes now, and we're going to be having a 3rd route this year. And we also just bought
walking tours, correct?
Walking tours downtown Grand Rapids. And we just bought a bus as well. So we're going to start doing haunted pub crawls and taking trips to like Mansfield, Ohio.
Yeah, you start getting people drunk and they start seeing all kinds of things. Yeah,
pink elephants. They see spirits. Yeah. You hold a spirit, you see more spirits.
Is that why they were called that? Spirits? Wine and spirits? Yeah. Because you get drunk enough, you see ghosts. Yeah, which I guess would explain some paranormal activity.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about some of the things that I'm sure you're well aware of, or you may have covered locally. We'd like to talk about some local stuff because we are here based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And every state has something going on in their town, which we've also talked about. I mentioned West Virginia has a town that's a whole population. Like every other building is some kind of event or something happened, tragic. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania in general is just a hotbed due to everything from the 1800s and a lot of death and, disease ran rampant. And then, of course, battles was huge. Cut down a lot of young people in their lives and, just devastated a lot of things. But ours, surprisingly, I lived here on and off. I moved away for a little while, but from Grand Rapids area, Rockford, Sparta area. And I wasn't as hip to it when I was younger. You'd watch your movies and stuff like that, be like, oh, that's unbelievable. But then as you grow older and you actually you can physically go to the places that they talked about. You know what I mean? You could feel the vibe. You get dared on a late night. You go in there with some people. You know what I mean? And you're inside, and maybe a raccoon digging in a wall or something. You know what I mean? You're like, there's demons in here. We have to go right now. And then you bail out. And then you tell everybody, oh, yeah, I went to this haunted place. Oh, yeah, there was something there.
And you heard something.
I heard something. No, I totally saw something. You know what I mean? Which, some phenomena nowadays are easily passed off, science-based. So. Cars driving by on a highway cause reflections of blank. Like I said, a squirrel, something in the bugs, or something in the bugs, something in the floorboards, or, old houses, they settle. They creak. It happens. What... In your experiences, I mean...
I grew up in a haunted house.
Okay.
I actually would see shadows walk through the rooms, and I would hear voices. And one day I remember sitting on my parents' bed talking on the TV, before the cell phone when you had to be connected.
Right.
So I was sitting on their bed talking to my friend across the street, and I saw this gigantic orb come out of the closet, and it hovered in the middle of the room, about the size of a softball.
Wow.
And just flew through their door and went towards the hallway.
Interesting.
And I don't know if it was a ghost, but I don't know what it is.
There's a lot of speculation that the orbs are a brief glimpse into a spirit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
but then you get the orb photos, and that's a whole nother story.
It is. There was somebody, I saw one, somebody took one of it was of a basement. You know what I mean? It's an older basement.
Moisture,
dust. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I technically have a lot. I live in an older house,
100-year-old
house, made out of wood.
Yeah.
Sometimes at night, if I got a candle lit or maybe the lamp's on,
yep.
I see things floating around, but I'm like, oh, that's dust. There's a cobweb right there.
Exactly.
I got to clean more. That's, I guess, the point of this whole story. Anyways, but some things are easily dismissed.
Agreed.
Have you been anywhere locally where maybe there has been something odd or...
There's been tons of stuff.
Okay.
So I became extremely obsessed with ghosts.
Okay.
Gary Eberle released a book. Well, actually, it was Don Ferrant first, wasn't it?
First, yep.
That was in 1978, Haunted Houses of Grand Rapids.
Okay.
So I grew up looking for this stuff because I was so intrigued by it. And then it was re-released in 1982, I want to say, by Professor Eberle.
Okay.
And I was just always into looking for these things. So I worked downtown for about 20 years.
Okay.
Started when I was about 17. And I also went to GRCC. It wasn't it wasn't JC. It was after it just turned from JC to CC.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I used to go into buildings, and I am an odd duck. My husband always says, by the time we leave Meyer, the person behind us knows my social security number.
Oh, yeah.
So I talk to anybody and everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Tell them way too much.
That's why I do this. Yeah.
Exactly.
You need an outlet.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I always went into buildings and just kind of casually asked people, hey, I get that heebie-jeebie feeling that when I was at home, before something would happen, I'd always feel the hair on my neck stand up, I could feel the air change.
Sure.
And I always called it my Spidey sense before Spider-Man was super big in the movie culture now, but...
No, he's super big anyway.
He's always been. But to me, it was nothing.
I 100% use that reference
nobody.
50 times in my life. So you're in good company. Go ahead.
I'd walk into these buildings, and I'd start to get that feeling like there's somebody there, something there. And
sure.
I'm sure a lot of it's probably personal paranoia where you feel like something's watching you. But,
maybe.
I'd get that feeling, so I'd just casually ask, hey, it's an old building. Have you guys ever had anything happen? Mm-hmm. And throughout the 20 years that I worked down there, I always jotted notes down or kept stories in my head. And
sure. That way you can have some kind of reference point.
Exactly.
And know where your next move is.
Exactly.
Right.
And knowing how much I loved, the previous ghost books about Grand Rapids, I always wanted to write one on my own. And ended up meeting Rob and Nick, so we all got together and just did that. And got another one in the works, so hopefully that'll be out by the end of the year for sure.
To get into these places and such, you basically just make conversations, say, hey, can we snoop around?
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
I always use the one example, the building that used to be Brian's Books over on Fulton Street.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's now
about that off here, right?
Mexican XO, or I don't know exactly how they pronounce it now.
Zo.
But back in the 90s, it was for a little while. It kept changing hands in businesses, and for a little while, it actually sold a lot of bandages, braces, medical equipment.
Okay.
And there was one building that I'd walk by all the time and never went in. So I just kind of casually, as I'm walking by, start feeling like there's something, it's an odd building. So I just went in. And there were a couple women standing at the counter at that time. And I asked them, I'm like, have you guys ever had anything odd happen here? And they're two younger girls, and they're like ghosts. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, no. And there was an older woman standing behind them. And
she's like,
well, she is. She's like, she's looking at me. She's like.
Step behind this curtain.
Exactly. So we walked to the side. She goes, I've never told anybody this except my husband. And she shared with me that one night she was closing up, doing inventory and working on stuff. She said she had these 2 tiny boxes that she had to bring to the basement. She says she goes to take a step down the basement, and she sees this man standing at the bottom of the steps.
Oh.
She says he looks completely drenched in blood or some kind of gooey substance. She actually referenced the movie Carrie.
Like an ectoplasm.
Yeah, well, blood is what she
Bloody
said.
Ectoplasm.
Bloody ectoplasm, whatever you want to call it. Stuff that shouldn't be there.
Well, not on a man at the bottom of your stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
By any means. Okay.
But she said you could kind of see through him. She goes, but you could see clothes. She says, and he just had this goo dripping off of him. She said the most creepy part about him is he had white eyes. There was no pupils in his eyes.
Ooh.
She says she screamed. She threw these 2 little boxes at him. Like that was really going to do. She literally said they were like little jewelry box size.
That could have been his weakness. Yeah. That could have been the one that nobody's tried. Like there's like a cursed item in the box. You're like, no. It's like, oh, and he just fades away. Right. You don't know what works until you try.
That's true. Right. That's true. But she said she grabbed her purse and keys and left. Refused to work nights after that. Her boss assumed she must have been assaulted or like harassed by a homeless person down there.
And just didn't
ask. Right. She's like, and I didn't tell him any different. So she tells me this. Okay. I don't think anything of it. I still got the creepy vibe, but thanked her, went on my way, And when we started coming up with stories for the tour, I started looking into the history of the building, and I found out that in 1914 there was a guy whose name was Frank Stout, and he was adopted when he was 6 years old to a family known as the Mann family.
Okay.
They already had a daughter named Ada, and they became very close. So much so that when she turned into her teenager, he started to get really upset when she started dating.
Right.
So he obviously had
a lot of jealousy. And
exactly. Showing feelings he might not necessarily should show for a sister, shall we say.
Sure.
So the family quickly married her off at 16, and all went about their business. And they lived actually south of here. So this all didn't happen in Grand Rapids. But later years, she got married, she moved out. He went on to get married, and he married a woman and moved into Grand Rapids.
Okay.
And he had a drinking problem, and he never told his wife about his sister.
Oh.
For some reason, he just never brought it up.
Okay.
Well, Ada gets divorced, and she moves here to Grand Rapids, works for a doctor over on Weston Street as a housekeeper. And at one point, he sees her down there, and at first she was excited to see him. Familiar face, my brother's here, until he starts literally stalking her, following her around town, asking her for money. His wife hears of this, so she ends up saying, get the hell out. You're hanging out with some other woman around town.
Right.
And so
she doesn't know it's his sister.
Exactly. So he ends up moving into a place called the Fulton Rooming House, which is the building that occupied the space for the medical equipment place.
Okay, right.
At that time, it was a 6-story building. Looks very much like the Lorraine building, which is next door. It was almost like matching buildings.
Almost same height.
Same height.
Now it's a little bit low.
Now it's 1 story in a basement.
Yeah, it's just that.
And before it was like 5-6 stories.
Right.
And so he moved in there and got a room, and all went well. And she was still being stalked by him. And at one point, according to the newspaper articles, it says that he followed her to the doctor's office while she was cleaning. She's looking up over the mantle as she's dusting, and she's him staring in the window. So she calls the police. The police come. He's missing by then.
Right, yeah.
So later on, the doctor sends her out to run an errand, and she turns down Fulton Street, starts walking, and Frank appears out of nowhere and grabs her arm really tight. And he's like, you're coming with me. Oh. So they start walking. She gets the balls up to break away from him when she gets in front of the Fulton, not knowing he was living there at the time.
Right.
But she broke away from him, ran into the front door, and there were 2 women playing cards in the dining room. Okay. And she's like, he's going to kill me. He's crazy, And he walks in, he pulls a gun out of his pocket, and he said, I got you now, Ada. And he shot her 3 times in the stomach.
Whoa.
She dropped dead, pretty much. Took her a couple minutes to bleed out.
Sure.
And then he went upstairs to his room and stood in front of the mirror and popped himself in the head. So
currently those two are residing still.
Exactly.
Wow.
But you hear the story of this woman that she told me about this bloody guy in the basement. Yeah. And at the time, I wish to God I knew her contact info because I would love to tell her what I found out.
Absolutely, right.
Maybe she'll come on the tour someday and I can let her know.
That would be kind of neat. She'd be like, wait,
yeah.
This all happened?
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And I still currently, every now and then I'll go in. I haven't checked with the new restaurant, but I've gone in there over the years and just said, hey, have you guys ever had anything weird happen? And people will tell me odd things.
People are so comfortable, you know what I mean? That people are comfortable enough,
especially since the stupid ghost hunter shows and all that came out.
And Roger and I discussed this before. Different times, different mindsets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Compared to 70s, 50s, 40s, and people are like, "Oh, ghost! No, you're effing crazy. We're gonna lock you in the crazy
exactly.
house. There's no such thing." And
I would have been there already.
I think part of it too is that if something like this happens to you, you want to tell somebody, but you're afraid to tell anybody.
Because then you look crazy.
If you've got someone who's listening, it's like, I've got the story.
Right. If they bring it up first,
I need to tell the story.
You got the weirdo coming in.
You randomly bring it up, and she's like,
yeah,
well,
exactly.
No one's ever asked me that. That's going to encourage people to go into a story.
Yeah.
Another local one that we talked about before the show was the Michigan Bell.
Bell building.
Yes.
Which you are a huge fan of.
Oh, yes.
And that building's been in Grand Rapids for a while. We got a picture of the Michigan Bell building, I believe.
Well, that was the Judd White House.
The Judd White House.
Stood where the Michigan Bell building is
this
now.
one right here is a picture of a house. It's the Judd White House that stood where the Michigan Bell building is now. And I had no idea that there was a house there because I grew up when there was buildings. So
no, there were gorgeous houses all over the place right in there.
And from what I've gathered, someone gets beaten to death with a leg, which is always, that just starts a fascinating story. Right.
Yeah.
That's another shot. This is
so
another
right
shot
now, this shot here, and behind that house that you're looking at on the corner, that's where JC or CC is now.
Yep.
So.
No, I know that neighborhood. Yeah, when we were talking about it, as soon as you described, I'm like, oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
A little bit of the story on...
There was an alley between those two houses as well.
Was there between those two?
There was between those two houses, which kind of plays into the story as well.
And there's the Michigan Bell building.
Yep.
Which wasn't.
It looks a little different now.
It does look different, and that's why I'm looking at it.
They've added the bottom is still the same, but they actually added, I believe, another 2 floors to the top.
And the bottom has that. They got a new brewery in there or something.
No. Currently, it's still just the.
I'm thinking of the wrong building.
I don't know if it's AT&T or. No.
Oh, I think
this one's directly across the street from Kendall College.
Yeah. I actually went to Kendall briefly
Did
for
you
a little while, so I've seen the building. I just couldn't.
You're educated.
For some reason, I was thinking of the building at the corner of DeVos. That was Olds Manor.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Olds Manor before that got...
Nope, that one's a brewery now, but
yeah, I know. That's
also haunted.
Which is, and somebody had told me about that. I was standing outside Comic-Con, and somebody had brought that up to me.
Yeah.
Uses wooden leg to stun his wife.
Yes.
Warren
Speculation,
C. Roland,
mind you.
Then turns on gas and cuts his throat with a razor.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Now see, that's the kind of stuff that's not...
It was a loving couple.
They're very close. Another one we kind of talked about was the Amway. Roger and I kind of talked briefly.
Yep.
The older part of the Amway.
The Pantlin.
The paneling, right? Exactly.
Pantlin Hotel.
The paneling.
The pant leg.
The pant legs.
Yes.
The beaten down with the pant leg. The paneling, and the older part is just gorgeous anyways. Just the architecture inside of it. It just looks like a big square on the outside. I don't know. We'll try to get a picture of that, the Amway. But the chandeliers and everything else about that is just, it looks super, super fancy.
Yeah.
And it's such a nice hotel.
Yep.
And then that newer part went up, and I think there's like a tennis court on a roof or something. Whatever rich people.
We're supposed to be redoing it as well.
The newer part?
Yeah.
Really?
They're going to add whole new windows on the outside to make it glass-like.
I really hope they don't mess with the older part.
I hope not to.
That's a little too much. We were talking about Heritage Hill area. The Heritage Hill area that's quite a bit in the Heritage Hill area. You mentioned the walking tours and stuff. You cover a lot of that area through there?
We don't do a lot of the homes because when we're walking by them, people really don't want you staring up at their house. Now that we have the tour bus, we're kind of hoping that we're gonna come up with something to kind of tie that in. I've got quite a few ghost stories for the homes around there.
So my favorite haunted house in Grand Rapids is in Heritage Hill.
Yeah.
The Brown House.
Roger and I will hang out occasionally and go walk through the neighborhood. And
yeah.
I'll tell them the stories as we walk by the houses.
Has any of the people, has anybody reached out to you for any reason? Maybe because of your book from the areas and stuff? From Heritage Hill area?
Yep.
Stuff like that, too?
My brother is one of them. He actually has a home in Heritage Hill.
Okay.
On Fountain Street. Very close to, what's it, City now? Whatever that school is or was. And,
Whatever they're calling it.
And he has a woman that, they'll have people backing out of their driveway after they've been hanging out there for 4 hours. And they'll call and say, dude, who's upstairs? And they'll see an older woman standing in the window upstairs looking out. There was one night he was walking outside and there were two crows. It's midnight and there's two crows that start fighting right in front of the window.
Oh.
And he takes out his phone, snaps a picture, and there's a big black figure in the window looking out at him.
Does he still got that?
He does, I'm sure. I'd have to find
amazing.
it. But
yeah.
So I've got lots of stories on. That's just one.
We're gonna have to do a 2-part show with you. I think we're not gonna cover everything.
I've got
in just
plenty.
one sitting.
I can go on.
I don't think that's how that's gonna happen.
It's all good. Bring me back for Halloween.
That's not a bad idea.
Good.
See, now you're talking. One of the bigger ones that's more popular amongst people in Michigan, if they've heard of one, is Felt Mansion.
Yes.
Felt Mansion. They still do tours. I know when I was doing radio. When I was doing radio, we've set up some events where people, stay the night there, a group of friends or something like that, you know what I mean? And they have neat stuff like that for, people who want to adventure, I guess you could say.
That's actually how my whole story got started.
Was with Felt?
I won a radio contest to spend an overnight at Felt Mansion. And I got locked in with the West Michigan Ghost Hunter Society, and I had just locked up with them, and hence the long-standing career.
Right. And you still talk with those guys, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. I'm best friends with Nikki. She's one of the authors of the book. Nicole is the president and co-founder of the group. So
That's great. Man, I like people.
We're a bunch of geeks.
and that's important, and that's what...
We get along.
Obviously, that brings everybody together.
That's a nerd too, so yeah.
Exactly. But Felt, and that's one of the things that kind of piqued my interest more towards the stuff around Grand Rapids. I mean, my grandpa, a long time ago, he was a shoe salesman, stuff like that. He had a shoe store. He came up here and he did some work at Olds Manor. He was working there. So he had told me some things, when I was younger, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, Grandpa. Real funny.
Keep drinking, Grandpa.
Yeah. That's the grandpa's job, is just to F with his grandkids. Yep. I'm pretty sure. I mean, any grandfather I've ever met, if they have a grandchild, they're messing with them.
That's what they're
it could be long-standing marathon joke or just little short bursts.
Yep.
Sprints. It's all right. Either way. But yeah, Felt mentioned was one of the things that, and it is a cool place. I
miss the prison. When the prison was on the grounds, did you ever get in there?
I never got there. I was just there with the house, but I had told tales of the prison.
That was creepier than the house.
I bet.
Pretty incredible.
Now, was the prison the same place where the orphans were that spawned the Melonhead legend?
It was off in that same area because you have the big mansion on the grounds.
One of those based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You have the mansion on the grounds, but then the prison was probably like a 3-minute walk off towards the woods, and the woods is where the Melonhead stories kind of.
Okay.
Wow.
Creepy, large-headed children that specter the woods.
Exactly. But,
could be alien, large-headed. Do they speculate that? Of course.
That's a speculation.
It's got to be some kind of extraterrestrial.
Yeah. Mutant children.
Some kind of mutant children of the
my
corn.
Kids.
Yeah.
Mine too. Any other big ones around town? Not big ones, but
around town. There's tons of them.
We said Aquinas.
Holmdene.
Holmdene and Aquinas, and there was another building in Aquinas that's had some weird hallway. I think.
I don't know that one. The fountain out at Holmdene is supposed to be haunted by a child who drowned in it.
Yeah.
But we have done tons of research, and what we did find out is that we cannot find any drownings on the site, and none of the children who lived there drowned. However, we do know that the staff, the maids, would actually be allowed to live there with their children sometimes. So potentially, maybe
one of the staff's children or something
like
that. Oh.
Yep. So and then it wouldn't necessarily be publicized because it's just a kid.
Yeah,
It's not some prominent child.
Right.
So that could possibly be, but
times haven't
otherwise,
changed too much, I guess.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and that's some... Yeah. And some people don't think about what's going on in your neighbor's house, or you know, when they move into a place, first move into a place, and stuff like that, or even just people getting settled into a business. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's not like it's not on a sales pitch.
No, not at all.
You know what?
Not at all.
32,000 square feet and ghosts.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said ghosts.
Sold.
All right, I'll come down on the price.
That'd be me. I'd be okay.
Sold. And a lot of
How
people,
much more do I have to pay?
could you live like that? I mean, it depends. If it's poltergeist or specter, I mean, there's levels of...
I'd rock it.
There's levels of haunting, though, right?
Yes.
Obviously.
I wouldn't want anything terrible.
There's your basic, just, you know, out the corner of your eye, or maybe something's moved from, like, a playful spirit, what have you.
Residual hauntings, which is a repeat.
Right.
The same action over and over and over.
Right. Or, I mean, and some... people who like to tell stories about they've seen ghosts or been abducted by aliens are usually pretty colorful types anyways.
Yes.
And it makes it real hard to take them seriously anyways. Maybe Boy Who Cried Wolf kind of a thing from time to time.
It's like him and I were just talking yesterday or the other day. I have a great story about, there's a place called the Hotel Browning.
Okay.
Which is, if you know where the old Ferguson Hospital was, downtown. It's currently housing for people with low income and handicapped.
Oh, okay.
And I got this great story from this man, you know, on the haunting, and it has a morgue in the basement, and they're talking about the drawers. When he was brought in and given an apartment, he's like, the guy was like, you know, we don't have a whole lot of storage in here, but you got drawers downstairs you can use. So he goes down to the storage area, and the manager's like, here, pulls out a drawer. You can put your box in here. It was an old morgue tray that they're storing stuff. And this guy, but it's like, I'm like, it's really hard. You know, it's like, I've seen it. He showed me this stuff. But this guy came out wearing a dress. He was totally in drag. And God bless him if that's how you want to rock it. You know? Sure. But it's like, I'm sitting there going, how am I going to explain this guy in my book? Like, maybe I should just leave that out.
Him is harder than explaining
Exactly.
A lot of random adjectives. Right. People are going to be like, no way you met this guy.
That's what I'm saying.
The ghost, I believe.
Exactly.
That guy, he's not real.
The rest of it will question.
Wait, which one was the ghost?
Exactly.
Now, from the
maybe
tour,
it was him.
I've taken your tours several times.
Yes, you
I'm
have.
kind of a regular on the tours.
Yep.
I believe that building was where the railroad magnate lost his head in an elevator?
Yes, there are a ton. I can't even tell you the elevator mishaps in Grand Rapids.
I'm sure there's a lot, because they still have one of the original, there's like an Edison elevator off of Hall Street, like the building right off Hall Street, big long brown building. They still have one of the original elevators that was put into Grand Rapids from like 1930 something. And it's crazy to me that they still use it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's so
that's
unsafe.
just like, that's just ropes and pulleys. Yep. That's fine. Yep. No, the fuck it's not.
Yeah, there's tons of them.
It's scary. It creaks. I don't want to be on here.
Yep.
But the big one was there was a railroad magnet? Or
Yep, there was a man who had moved in with his wife there, and they moved everything up during the day, and she was unpacking, and at the end of the day, he went downstairs to the lobby to tip everybody that had helped him. This was like 1916, I want to say.
Okay.
Same hotel that Babe Ruth stayed at, by the way.
Nice.
And he was getting in the elevator. Another woman that lived on the third floor got on the elevator with him. Okay. And so it was her, him, and the elevator operator. And he said fourth floor. Woman says third floor. He's like, okay, brings him up. Woman steps off the elevator on the third floor, and he must have not have been. They said he was fumbling with his wallet.
Oh, okay.
So
maybe
the elevator operator,
exactly.
The elevator operator automatically thinking, okay, he's getting off at the fourth floor. Yeah. You know, there's no doors to shut or anything. You know, so he hits the up button as he starts to step off the elevator. He's basically like jammed between the ceiling.
He just guillotined himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then his body was hit a second time when he tried to release the pressure by lowering the elevator. It fell underneath. And then he hit it again.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's a woman crying in that building, and I've said it could be her, but...
That is crazy.
There's stories everywhere.
We were watching something on, it's called Would You Believe It? I think. Something like that. Some series. It was an older series, but anyways. Yeah. And it talks about this dam that burst. Jones, is it Jones? I'm going to say it's like a Jonestown, but I'm not thinking of Jonestown. But a dam...
the Kool-Aid?
No
Kool-Aid?
Well, the point is, this dam broke and it had debris from that. And it came down and it sloshed up like 40-foot waves, and it hits this other town and wipes out things there. Then it comes down through like this other town to the major town, hits like the factories and all this other stuff. Now there's fire because oil. So now they have debris, trees, fire, oil.
Yeah.
40-foot wave. Jeez. And just tearing through this before it just simmers down into their town. That is crazy to me. Trippy. And now they're like, yeah, this whole valley all the way up to where the dam used to be, don't go there. That's just haunted. Well, that's seriously haunted because that is some crazy happenings. I mean, that's a whole storm of just death being brought upon you.
Well, coincidentally, the Ojibwe tribe that was here prior to the settlers coming into Grand Rapids actually called this the Haunted Valley. Oh. That's what Grand Rapids was the Haunted Valley for them.
That's all I'm going to call it
when you translate what they named it. I know. I'm living in the Haunted Valley.
Nope, that's all I'm going to do. Yeah. We're going to go into another segment, and we're going to talk more true crime. Murderers and such, because there's been some that have happened in Grand Rapids.
For sure.
We have a serial killer?
We do.
Do we?
We think he was caught, but we're not sure.
Ooh, like a Jack the Ripper kind of thing. Was he caught? Was he this doctor? Was he a prostitute? Was he... However... Was he the Loch Ness Monster? We don't know. That is the point.
Bigfoot's offspring.
But we're gonna,
right.
This show, we're going to find out. We're not going to find out. It's way more research than we want to do. That's why we have comfy seats. But before we do that, you still do the tours.
Yeah.
You set them up in advance.
Yep.
How do we contact you?
ParanormalMichigan.com.
ParanormalMichigan.com.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a haunted bed and breakfast
and
that we're going to be opening.
We'll put some of your info up on the Facebook and stuff in case people do want to, maybe if they're watching this, maybe something weird happened. Because now we're going to be down in Kalamazoo a lot, and they're going to be picking us up there. And
that's where Rob and Nicole live, my co-authors. They have a haunted bed and breakfast down there that they're going to be opening. And you have to go visit when you're down there.
You're going to be on TV down there.
Whoop, whoop.
I know you're excited.
Do I look excited?
She seems excited. All right, we'll do our quick intermission. Let's do some music. I think we got some chili music. Local band. Great guys. I used to live in the room next door to their practice room, which was in the basement of this house.
So you had no choice but to listen.
Nope. And I love those guys. They're absolutely... It was a free concert all the time, every Thursday. It was nice. And I had somebody to drink with.
There you go.
Bonus. So we'll get to them and a word from our sponsor, not sponsor, Puck Cider, which is delicious, and you need some. Watch a commercial. I'll tell you more about them later. More with Julie. Roger's here. Don't go anywhere. Come right back. Yeah. We're going to talk murderers.
At Schaefer Orchards, our hard cider is so good, it pours itself. Don't believe me? Oh, I got you. Puck Cider.
Ton of bricks, you're
Hi, welcome back, Uncle Punky. Storytime with Uncle Punky. We are telling stories today.
It's all about storytime.
Ghost stories.
Yeah.
We've been telling a lot of them. And for us to do that and to do more of these, we need subscribers. So share, subscribe to the world, tell your friends, tell your friends' friends, tell their cousins, tell your mothers. We need like 200 plus people to subscribe at least. Least you could do. To help us out, we can get our own URL, technical, jargony stuff on YouTube, and we can just do this all the time. So we need your help. Make sure you do that. And if they do that, we got a little special something for you.
A little something.
From Roger. Roger has a film called Meat Puppets.
Meat Puppets.
And we're going to make that available. And we're going to...
The little snuff film that could.
Little snuff film that could. From Roger.
Yep.
It's a cult classic.
Yeah.
Instant
cult
film
festivals
classic.
all over the country and around the world.
Which is great.
Yep.
We couldn't ask for more.
It's got a huge cult following.
See, it's the show that keeps on giving. Yeah. It's you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. Borderline Italian. And we were talking off the air because we're going to get into some true crime. We're going to talk about murderers, serial killers, and the like, and their tie-ins to pop culture, which we have to do because it's a pop culture show, or else it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Autopsies in the parking lots in Grand Rapids. This happened here. Mm-hmm. Right downtown.
Yeah. The couple that was found in the Michigan Bell building, the bodies were so bad because, long story short, they found the bodies 2 weeks after they were sitting in the building.
Gross.
Lady across the street smelled an odor, called the gas company.
You think she would, yeah.
Yeah. And called the gas company, and they came in, sent a rep out, and they ended up finding 2 charred black bodies. They were so bad, the only way they could actually identify them was because of the man had been in a railroad accident and had a wooden leg.
Oh, okay.
So the bodies were so bad from the gas fumes that they did the autopsy in an alley, which coincidentally ran across right behind their house.
Yeah.
And they said that you know, you watch all these crime shows and whatnot, and you hear about bot flies and maggots on the bodies. Yeah. The fumes were so bad in this place that the bot flies and maggots were dead. They were suffocated. On top of the dead body, there was just like this big, messy death soup. I don't even know how else to put it.
And soup. What do we do with it? We open it up.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great plan.
They said like 1,000 people were actually watching the autopsy.
Just hanging out.
They tried doing it inside the funeral home, but the fumes were so bad from the bodies, the morticians were getting sick.
Fumes.
Yep.
What a day. And there's a picture of that somewhere.
There's a picture of the crowd that I found in the press forever ago, or the Tribune. I'm not sure which one it was.
That's pretty cool. That's weird. It's weird, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a
dark history.
It's that fascination that people have. Yeah, that fascination people have with death and murder and stuff like that. It's like a car crash.
Tours are full of it.
I'm sure they are, and it's that peak curiosity. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that maybe come that are a little terrified, overly terrified about some of the things. Yeah,
actually, some people will be like, "Is this scary?" And I'm thinking to myself, "No, not at all."
Right? Yeah, it's something you deal with on the daily.
Telling stories.
Yeah,
right.
And with those other people that, they'll like, we've actually had a couple people leave.
Wow.
Or they're just like, I'm going to have nightmares, and I'm just like,
yeah, my mom would be like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Wussies.
But there have been a lot of prolific murderers, serial killers throughout the years. Not that we're condoning this behavior in the slightest. But they are. It is fascinating. It's fascinating. Yeah. The culture behind it, and just the psychology behind these people, and some of the interviews that I've seen and read with some of the more recent ones that you can study or whatnot. I mean, these people are convinced either in a higher power forcing them to do things, or that it's right and it's just, or that they're not. They're just. And the look in their eyes, some of them is just, there's nobody there. Yeah. No. I mean, there is no heart, there's no feeling, there's no soul in that person that you are looking at. And that's scary. I mean, and it could be, you never know who it could be. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Jack the Ripper was one of the most famous ones, probably the earliest serial killer. That's not a story from the Bible, I guess.
I might read the Bible more.
Yeah, right. They're still not sure who it was to this, or they had theories. There's always theories. Was it a doctor? Was it
a member of the royal family?
A member of the royal family? Was it a policeman? Was it, speculation. A lot of prostitutes died, and there's a lot of documentaries that actually kind of walk you through the route of the murders and stuff like that in London, which is pretty fascinating. I found a couple of those, and I would love to do that.
Which those also have tours.
Yeah, which would be
take as well,
fantastic tours. Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, I don't live there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a little bit farther of a drive.
That's right.
Another one I actually watched, because I've been documentary happy, as I mentioned. Mm-hmm. That's how I spent my holiday. With H.H. Holmes from Chicago.
Possibly Jack the Ripper.
Possibly Jack the Ripper. There was speculation
incredibly
of that
prolific American serial killer.
Really was.
They're talking maybe 200 or more people.
Yep, he started a hotel in Chicago as a front, I guess. Well, he had a pharmacy downstairs. There was like a market, I think, or something. Also, there was businesses on the first floor, and then he just had this
hotel
chamber of death.
Yeah,
was the top 4 floors. I mean, he had chutes, and he had secret rooms, hidden passages to get bodies.
Rooms that could be completely sealed off, and he can gas people.
Yep, he had a safe in the upper floor in his room, and that's how he would convince billionaires and millionaires and other people to sign off things and to give him money and to do what he wanted them to do. He would gas them enough, or he'd just get them to do it and then murder them anyways. I mean, he was pretty unfeeling. And then his wife that he had left, he married another woman, and stuff with children, and it was pretty unspeakable things.
Peitzel,
yes, that was and his partner.
Yeah.
Actually, his
Peitzel.
relations.
It was the last. Yeah, it was his kids that he killed.
Yeah, that was the last one.
And then the weird thing being that he was a doctor, he could take the skeletons of his victims and sell them for research.
I don't think he was fully a doctor. He went to medical
school at University of Michigan.
Right, and I don't think he actually became a doctor.
No, but it was close enough that he could sell the skeletons off.
Yeah, exactly, and it was a lucrative market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they had talked to other professionals who were like, you know what? They're like, it's also shame on those institutions for accepting these bodies from him and whatever we can do. That's bizarre. And I heard they're actually going to do a major motion picture thing, which it's a great story. I mean, it's really fascinating. Like I said, the ones I found on Amazon Prime, which you can look for if you like, are just H.H. Holmes or Hotel Horror or something. I gave them some weird name or something, but Murder Castle. But they're still great. Another one that really ties into we were talking about pop culture. I mean, Saw loosely, with like the different chambered rooms and stuff like that. It's got a kind of that feel to it. Ed Gein. He made a lot of furniture.
Out of body parts.
He was a craftsman. Yeah. I guess by trade.
Made nipple belts.
Don't forget the
nipple belts.
Kind of spawned the ideas of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Your Silence of the Lambs, and such. Psycho.
I would say Toby Hooper, director and writer of Texas Chainsaw, directly cites Ed Gein.
Yeah.
From childhood stories he had heard.
Yeah.
And Robert Bloch, who wrote Psycho, lived close to that area, actually took a lot of Norman Bates, taxidermy and everything, directly from Ed Gein. Yeah.
And you can see how those influenced in there and whatnot. And Ed Gein was, people said he was, I'm trying to think how to word it. He didn't quite keep to him. I mean, he kept to himself, but he was a nice enough man, but just seemed like a very stoic, you know what I mean? Yeah. And just all of a sudden,
an odd little fellow that no one would suspect.
All hell breaks loose all of a sudden, and then you're exposed for the monster that you are. You know what I mean? Like Albert Fish.
Crazy.
A lot of people talked about him that he was so trustworthy and he was such a nice guy that people would like, I'd leave my children with him.
And then he ate them.
It's not the guy that did the pins in his stomach or something?
Yeah. And then when they electrocuted him with all the pins in his stomach,
it started arcing.
Yeah, it started really weird experience. Apparently, to the people who said that they witnessed that, they're like, it was just bizarre. But yeah, he inspired a lot of pop culture things, and it was a very interesting character. And it's, like I said, psychologically, it's just odd that people can get to that level and think it's okay. Or,
You mean it's not?
Or maybe that they don't. Or maybe that they do know it. Or maybe that they do know it's not okay, but they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? They're like, no, I just want to murder things because, this is fun. How else am I going to make a lamp? Well, I'm going to go to the store and purchase one and a lampshade.
I'm going to stretch
that's like $50. I can kill a hobo right now for free. Just a lot more work in the process. Charles Manson, we'll talk about.
Technically not a serial
Technically
killer.
not a serial killer, right? I was about to say that.
Same with Ed Gein.
He was more of a
Sven Goon?
a spearhead. The what do you got? The head of the Hydra. It's one of the.
Yeah.
He was mentally unstable.
Yeah.
By all means, but he was just so impressive the way he talked to people and the way he could win people over. You know what I mean? He was very influential, and he thought he was going to be the next Jim Morrison. I mean, that's what he was shooting for. Then just got people to murder people he thought were just pigs, and
tried to create race riots, anarchy.
Yep,
and he would rise from that.
Yeah, and he accomplished a small feat of it, but look what it got him.
Well, technically, he was often cited as being the reason, the pinpoint time that, the death of the '60s and love and the hippie movement.
Yeah, honestly, and even though he claimed all this love and you know what I mean, had this commune of people and this and that, and it was all just hatred and murder.
And then tying with pop culture, it's not ironic by any means that after the Manson murders, all of a sudden we have a lot of films about serial killers. We have a lot more music and about.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, and that spawned a lot of things. We'll talk about a couple of those coming up a little bit. Another one is John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
True crime.
Tying in the fear of serial killers and clowns.
And just regular people
like
in your
clowns
neighborhood.
weren't scary enough
clowns
to begin
were scary to begin with.
See, a lot of people think, my mom, true story, my mom was actually a clown for a while. She delivered balloons and worked for this card shop place, and that's what she did. Yeah, I never thought anything of it when I was younger. You'd be surprised the stories that would explain a lot coming from my family. No, but I mean, it's an innocent thing. You know what I mean? And of course, it attracts younger people. So it unfortunately makes a lot of easy targets for a very sick individual. But he was a painter. And honestly, that's kind of what puts him in the pop culture status, I guess, because a lot of people, going to auctions and stuff trying to get this man's artwork just because he was a serial killer. And that was his claim to fame, his 15 minutes.
I would say serial killer culture is a big thing. People who collect autographs of people from death row, people who collect the paintings,
or
newspaper
crime scene
clippings.
evidence, or anything that they can get that deals with that. Yeah, I was watching something.
Well, that's kind of what pop culture is. It's what ties you to.
Yeah, and there's conventions for that stuff too. Absolutely. There's all kinds of conventions for, like we said, for everything. When we first started doing this, you can find something that people are very passionate about in groups and get them together, and they will celebrate it, no matter what it is. Serial killers is one. Ted Bundy,
charming serial killer,
very charming.
I don't get it.
He just looked like he just seemed like a regular guy.
Yeah.
Person that you would just bump into, talk to. Oh, hey, excuse me. Oh, yeah, good. Yeah. Nice to meet you. I'm Ted, whatever. And then he murders people. I still can't. I've never had a bad enough day to where I'm like, well, I'm going to fucking murder everybody. Today's the day. I mean, I get angry and I'll say that. I'm not actually going to go physically do that.
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine wanting to spend the rest of your life in prison or eating someone.
Or living with the guilt of doing those things.
Yeah. Or living with, exactly. But if you don't have the guilt and you can just live like that, like these people just went to bed every night afterwards. They're just like, oh, well, I murdered 7 people, ate 3. Oh, I'm going to turn in.
I'm bushed.
Yeah, early start tomorrow. Just change my oil.
But to be honest, I think that's part of the world's fascination with serial killers, is if you can look at it from the outside and realize that if you can't understand it, then you're okay.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I think that.
But again, there are some stories of people who get to that point that may have had backstories that weren't as complicated or actually intertwined similar to mine. But you know what I mean, like normal childhoods and stuff like that. Yeah. And if I can look at it that way and be like, oh shit, well I grew up like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was the one thing that was different?
Yeah. Where's the line exactly? Speaking of cannibals, Jeffrey Dahmer. Inspired that My Friend Dahmer, which is gained a lot of popularity. Actually, that was I haven't seen it yet, but I want to because it seems interesting. Just him alone. I mean, the freezers and the way he went about things, and
so there are actually walking tours of the Dahmer killings too.
Are there really?
From each of the bars and the hotels and locations. Yeah.
Oh, there's Psycho. We were talking about Psycho because that kind of tied in loosely with Ed Gein, just guy taxidermy.
And it spawned the serial killer film
genre.
Yeah. Easily.
Yeah, easily. We were talking local ones. We talked briefly. Local ones. What do we have for local serial killings?
There's a man who was recently caught. His name was Lamont Marshall, if I remember his name.
I think I heard about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we think that possibly might be solved. But there was this guy that killed Shelley Speet Mills.
Okay.
19-year-old bride. This was up in Heritage Hill.
Oh.
She was married for like 20 days, maybe a little less.
Oh.
Husband went to work and she was at home and he broke in. He ended up stabbing her 32 times, I want to say.
Ooh, that's a crime of passion.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. About 8 blocks away from there, down on Fountain Street, there was another woman who was murdered, strangled with her bra.
Oh.
Over on Michigan Street, where those new apartments just went up, there was another murder that occurred. A woman was pregnant.
The ones that were right by the Rite Aid over there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
A woman was pregnant, and guy broke into her house and killed her.
Wow.
And those are all in the book as well.
Are those all the same person?
We don't know, but a lot of the time frames of these things that happened are time frames that Lamont Marshall had kind of come into the picture in Grand Rapids.
Person of interest.
For sure. For sure.
Now these murders they took place over like a 10-year period, correct?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't happen all at once by any means.
So, from the public's point of view, it's like you don't think of it as a serial killer because it's not rapid, but
Right.
But
very
it's not
deliberate and
not
strung out.
necessarily once a week,
There are some who do that. There have been some over the years who've taken a year or two off. Well, I think the Boston Strangler was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
the Zodiac Killer
Zodiac Killer, yeah, just gone all of a sudden.
Job.
Yep, and some of that stuff's
Creepy.
really fascinating, like the letters and stuff when they show like the actual news footage and stuff. Mm-hmm. Ghost Hunters, get the hell out of here. Oh no, it's the Grand Rapids ones. Those guys are okay. Let's talk about your book real quick. Ghost Grand Rapids.
Yep.
Which you can get places
Everywhere.
that have books,
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Schuler's, it's everywhere.
and it is a good read.
It's great.
I think so.
I have flipped through it. I've flipped through it before. I've seen it. I have had friends who have these collection of books that have to do with ghosts and such, and it is a
There's
good
people
one.
like that?
I wouldn't know any of those people.
There's a
Not a
handful.
clue.
They're around. But no, I'm looking forward to more from you, and I'm going to take your tour.
Cool.
I'm bringing the family.
Come on down.
I have a bunch of teenagers.
Oh, they'll love it. They'll
I'm
love
sure
it.
they will.
Now the tours are in the fall, correct?
We usually start them up around June.
Okay.
Now that we got a bus that we're going to be implementing at some point,
Well, we went up
we can
to,
do things in weirder weather, but
We went up to Traverse City, the state hospital up there.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a
good one.
gorgeous, sprawling piece of property. See if you guys can find a picture of that Traverse City State Hospital. Whatever it's called. I know. I'm asking for a lot.
she knows
She
it.
knows what I'm talking about. Okay. So it's their idea was beauty therapy through beauty. And it's this gorgeous chunk of property.
Beautiful.
And the buildings that are outlined, I mean, they had like they had an extreme women's area. They had a children's center. They had a nursing home, which actually they do have still a nursing home in it now that they converted in the big area, which has like restaurants and shops.
Yep.
And then, but we went and you can't get in the building. You can take the tour. They have a dusk tour, which is like the longer one where you sit in the house and like listen to the buildings and like listen to them settle and creak and whatever else. And unfortunately, there's a lot of penises spray painted everywhere. So beware
That's in
if
any
you go
abandoned
there.
building. And my
I know,
house.
it's like, hey, what should we tag? Probably just penises. No, stop it. Why? What is the point?
And then if you take a picture of that, would that be a dick pic?
I think so.
That's deep.
You know how hard it was to take pictures up there and like trying to get I'm like, it's there.
There,
I'll just take a
there you
picture of
can.
this architecture.
Just embrace
here.
them. You just got to
Yeah.
get your face going,
Yeah, right. No, I had the kids with me, so that was a bad choice.
yeah, that'd be bad.
But it took us a couple hours to walk around the outlying buildings, and then, you can peek in some of the holes in the basements and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's dark, and you're like, oh, orbs. No, it's dust. There's dirt. It's been here since like the 1800s, but it was used during civil wars and stuff. They'd train bodies up. They'd bring bodies up to, there it is. They'd bring bodies up to the hospital who were injured in the war, stuff like that. A lot of them passed through Saginaw which hit that train station and some. Yeah, it is. The place
beautiful.
is huge,
and
that's just one building.
And they're talking about turning this
more.
place into housing now.
And they are still talking, and they are renovating. They were when we went there, but you can look in a lot of like the holes in the boards and the cages, and the architecture's just
beautiful.
Beautiful. From here, it's only a couple hours north. I mean, honestly, it's not that far. So if you get an opportunity to go up, I think the tour's like $30. Definitely go check that out. We were talking about how do we tie paranormal to pop culture. It's a game. It's a fun game. It's a difficult game. So with comic books, there was they did a lot of sci-fi stuff because War of the Worlds, had that big sci-fi boom throughout like the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, started to lean more towards magic, fantasy, sci-fi, and then they started to do some true crime stuff. There was a few true crime comics, and then there was like Tales from the Crypt, which dealt with a lot of the weird paranormal and some true crime at the same time. I mean, there was a lot that
both of our
paranormal stories. Yeah,
Mad Men and Monsters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a lot of that. Journey into Mystery.
Vault of Horror.
Vault of Horror was another good one.
A lot of the EC comics had
a bunch of them.
The Ghost and
Tales from the Crypt, creep shows.
And they had true crime.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff had to do with monsters and stuff like that.
Creep shows.
Yeah, and those movies are still great. I love going back and watching creep shows.
They're timeless.
They are timeless. I mean, anything that gives you like a trilogy or multiple stories with a variety of actors. I mean, especially Tales from the Crypt. That gave us a bunch. I remember back in the day, like Dan Larroquette from Night Court, and then whoever else was.
Christopher Reeve, wasn't that was the one where they were eating people? Remember?
Yes.
The guy was killing them.
He owned the diner.
Yeah.
And my
cannibalism. There you go.
My wife told me about one that she just remembered out of the blue. Oh yeah, there's the Vault of Horror.
Yep.
Yeah. Vault of Horror is a good one. And that was pretty much like you get like 3 or 4 tales, and that was along the lines of your Tales from the Dark Side. Oh, which Vault of Horror was earlier than.
Yeah.
Did I say Tales from the Dark Side?
Yes, you did.
Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, and there was a third one. All ran at the same time. They would alternate weeks upon release.
Right.
But they were all EC comics, so they would just each week it was one of the 3.
And this one we had discussed off the air, From Hell.
We actually talked about in the movie episode.
We did talk about it in our movie episode. Yeah. That's right, we did. From Hell is a really, and of course Alan Moore is a bizarre individual anyway. So if you get to read anything from Alan Moore, do so. Yeah, Watchmen. I mean, a lot of people love Watchmen. That was that. Tales of Suspense. That leaned more towards sci-fi, but there were times that they tried to tie in some. That almost looks like Groot.
It is Groot.
That's not Groot. Originally, his
Groot's
name was like
Groot. That's Groot.
Groot was a thing from Planet X.
Thing from Planet X. Yep. And he could talk like full sentences.
Yeah.
And then sorry, my brain's. I was multitasking at the same time. I forgot what I was doing. Musically, we could tie paranormal and crime into music.
Oh, absolutely.
We found out that there was a giant list of some music that either had to do with a serial killer or something. I mean, Marilyn Manson, like I said, put out an album. Charles Manson put out an album.
Yep.
Marilyn Manson was, of course, inspired. I said I wasn't going to talk about it. I'm going to do it anyways. Because most of the people from Marilyn Manson were named after some kind of prolific serial killer.
Yeah.
Like most of the members.
They would take a name of a model or a fashion icon
and then
a serial killer and put them together.
Mash it together. And, of course, Alice Cooper, your favorite, was big on horror,
the macabre,
the macabre, Misfits, some of my favorites. They did a lot of music based on like 50s sci-fi and like horror stuff and things like that, and then horror pops.
Yep. We just found out, Susie and the Banshee
Susie
had a
and the
song based on Ed Gein. Skin.
Yep. Which we're going to listen to when we go off the air eventually. I'm not going to stop talking now. Here it comes. What other ones did we talk about? Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie's another big one. Even with his shows, Typo Negative, Bauhaus.
Bauhaus, yeah.
A lot of them had to do with monsters and stuff like that, but still, a lot of the dark stuff and darkness and things of that nature. And then we
talked about the murder ballads.
The murder ballads, yeah.
Which are 1800 tradition of songs about killers that
wouldn't work today.
Around.
They wouldn't work today.
No.
The ballads are different. There's no ballads anymore. People do ballads. That's what the R&B is for. Ballads. I think it's supposed to be rap and ballads. That's what R&B stands for. As far as paranormal and pop culture movie-wise, there's a billion options. Silence of the Lambs is one,
Right.
which also kind of ties in with Ed Gein.
Right.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Wow, he's cute.
Of course, Leatherface. He's adorable. It's the tie that really brings the outfit together, not so
That's
much
right.
the chainsaw. Yeah. What? Oh, From Hell was spawned in it. Oh, there's In Search Of with Spock. Back when he had a rockin' mustache.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was like the 80s porn
now
mustache.
we've gone to Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Now we're in Poltergeist mode. It all went to hell.
Poltergeist.
Yeah, Poltergeist was another one,
Yeah.
and that one still terrifies my wife.
I would say, actually, Julie and I've had a conversation like our top 5 favorite movies about Ghost.
Okay.
Because most are very jump scarish. And
Yep.
A lot of
Like,
them do.
I did watch The Orphanage finally.
The Orphanage.
With the
Guillermo
subtitles.
del Toro's.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
good. I was
So good.
Guillermo does some good dark
Yeah.
stuff.
The Changeling with George C. Scott.
my favorite.
Easily one of my favorite.
That's a classic. Rosemary's Baby. That one's a little
Rosemary-
long for me,
yeah.
but it's still
Yeah.
good. The original one, it's really good.
The Haunting. The
The
original,
original Haunting, yep.
That was a good
Easily
one.
one of the best.
We still like
Ghost.
House on Haunted Hill.
I was
Vincent
about to
Price,
say that
yeah.
one.
Yep.
Oh, there's my boy Robert Stack. That really tied in
That's
paranormal
a
and
pimp
pop
right
culture.
there.
Yeah.
You know you
Always
wanted
had
it.
that brown jacket was coming. There's a mystery that needs to be solved.
Unsolved Mysteries, though, it's a perfect blend of this show's topic. There were ghost episodes
There's
and
monster
crime
episodes. There's
episodes.
legends and crime. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything from kidnappings to disappearances to
And it was
and
everyone's
there
home
are-
once a week. Every housewife watched it. It's
Coming to
culture.
Netflix. Did you read that?
no.
It's
Oh.
going to be coming to Netflix.
No, it's on Amazon Prime right now. There
it
are
on Prime?
12 seasons. That's how I spent
I just read the other day. It's
my
supposed to be
whole
on Netflix,
holiday
too.
of New Year's was spent
Seriously?
watching Unsolved Mysteries.
I feel
because-
unsatisfied when I watch Unsolved Mysteries.
Because they're not solved.
Yeah,
Right.
it
And
just
you need
pisses
closure.
me off.
But the good thing is, these ones actually have the updates. Like shortly,
Oh,
right
really?
after, they'll have the updates.
Oh, that's
because,
very
So then I
this
might
shows-
watch
I
them.
mean, a lot of those. There are a few that you come across that are still
Questioned,
unsolved.
yeah.
Where you're like going around the neighborhood or the grocery store, like, did you see that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You recognize that
He
guy?
looks just like the guy on
I
the
think
show.
he was. I was in the guy in Unsolved Mysteries from 1993.
Which, unfortunately, you're IDing the actor who did the recreation.
I remember watching, and my wife and I discussed this. I remember watching it, and you're thinking like, that kind of looks like my neighbor. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, you are on high alert, like you are a detective.
Got your binoculars
Yeah,
out.
yeah. You're like looking at people. Guy's been mowing his lawn for 3 hours.
Something wrong with him.
What's he up to? Yeah, he's hiding something.
That's why I don't do my lawn.
Reality TV gave us a lot as
Especially
far
in
as
the
ghost
2000s.
hunting
Yeah.
with Ghost Hunters.
Ghost
At
Hunters,
least it's not
Ghost
that. Is that the
Adventures.
Zach Douchebaggins? I don't like
No,
that guy.
that's
it's
not.
Ghost Adventures.
This is-
I can't. I can deal without that guy. Yeah, don't talk your ghost. Don't do that. Nobody wants to do that. You want to fight me, ghost? I'm right here. Come
Yeah.
possess me. Come on, bro. No, shut your
Well,
face.
have you watched his latest? You
Oh, is
got
that
the
him?
movie?
No.
That's Zach,
There
yeah.
it is, yeah.
In his movie, he's saying that this movie that
movie?
the can't remember the name of it.
I think we came across that in my searches. Though.
Yeah, and he's saying that he's got to wear these really thick goggle glasses now because the ghost did something to him. The demon, excuse me, because everything's a demon.
A
Yeah,
ghost
yeah.
poked him in the eye. So that's what happens.
Don't want to know with what.
Right. But paranormal has become a very large thing, and it has to do with pop culture, and people aren't as afraid of stuff anymore. I mean, they are and they aren't. They're afraid of different things now than
yeah.
Ghosts and stuff don't seem as terrifying with the world that we live in today.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
true.
more of a fascination than a fear.
Right. When I lived in Harrisonburg, Virginia, right in the Shenandoah Valley, and of course it's a hotbed of activities due to various civil disputes
Yeah.
that have happened over time, and hill folk fighting in a holler. I guess I don't know. There's various stories, and things happened. But Virginia was interesting. I stayed in a house as like 175 years old, and I slept on this pull-out
cool.
couch in one of the rooms. And I'm laying there and I'm watching TV one night. Of course, I'm probably watching some strange documentary or something, Investigation Discovery, because I like those kind of shows. They're fascinating. Mm-hmm. And I sat there and I laid there for a minute, closed my eyes, and it felt like somebody sitting on the edge of the bed. And of course, a pull-out couch, they're all creaky and they're weird anyways, and the mattresses aren't. It's not like, those big hefty mattresses.
Yeah.
You can feel
You
so
feel
I just
each and every spring.
naturally I just go,
Yeah.
all right, thought maybe it was a dog, maybe it's a cat, maybe it's, I don't know what it is. Nothing there. All right, I'm going back to bed now. Made this proclamation. Going back to bed now. Really like to not be disturbed. I gotta get up early. And I lay back down. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, I feel like that. But then it
Get
felt
up.
like somebody was kind of You know what I mean? Like somebody who just kind of like, oh, you're trying to sleep. Forgive me. My children have done this to me. Like, oh, you're resting?
We've been there.
There's something I need right now. Yeah. And I kind of looked up, and I could see where it looked like the bed moved. And I'm like, oh, well, this is great. Only thought in my head was, well, I really need to sleep, but now I can't, and my brain wouldn't stop, and I still couldn't. It's just one of those things I couldn't. Did I see that because it was dark, that it moved? Was it just a shadow? Did it actually happen? Was it just my foot on a weird part of the mattress? You know what I mean? My brain just went into overdrive trying to solve and figure out what my brain was comprehending.
Right.
Which, you know...
and there's a lot of psychology to it, I think.
There is a lot of psychology to it.
You know, one thing, I think Julie's heard it plenty of times, is like, it feels like you're being watched.
Yeah.
Well, there is no feeling for that. That's all psychological.
Yeah.
You assume you're being watched.
Like,
you can't
you
feel
can
it.
sense when somebody's, like, hovering somewhere. You know what I mean? My wife does it to me all the time. She turns around, she's like, oh, I knew you were there. I'm like, oh.
I was breathing.
Just not saying anything. Yeah, exactly. But just you can sense or feel that something's in your personal area or space. And I mean, I haven't had many opportunities or experience like that. I've been in a few places that are creepy, and you know, my peripherals catch something weird, and I'm like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah. We were at a place up at in Petoskey. It's called Terrace Inn.
Okay.
My God, this was probably 10 years ago. And I got there early before the entire group got there.
Did your husband have hair?
He did.
Wow.
He wasn't
That's
with me
a
that
lot.
time.
That's impressive.
He did, I know. He's a sexy bastard either way. And being that tall, you don't argue.
Nope.
But we were at this Terrace Inn, and I walked into this place, and I purposely asked for my own room because, you know, our group was got like, I think back then we had like 8 people. Mm-hmm. And I knew that they had rooms that had the little individual beds, you know, or other people were going to have to bunk up. So I got there early, and I'm like, yes, I got my own room. So they bring me to this room. It's got nothing but lilac wallpaper.
Oh.
You know, little rocking chair, nice little nightstand.
No, not a rocking chair. That's bad news already.
It was
thing worse would be dolls.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right.
But it was a beautiful room, and I'm like, I originally thought, I can't sleep in here. No reasoning to it whatsoever. And throughout the entire night, we ended up having the alarm clock kept going off, the alarm, even though it was not set. That kept going off. We unplugged it, and it starts blinking again.
Oh.
Nope. Just weird things. The rocking chair at one point was moving. We just had weird things happen throughout the entire building.
Rocking chairs in your room.
I know. Yeah. So I this is the only place I have ever, when it was bedtime, I can't believe I'm admitting this. I cried. I'm like, I can't sleep in here. I ended up sleeping on this rinky-dinky couch in somebody's room. I'm like, I'm not sleeping on this gorgeous bed in this beautiful room. I'm just not. And we ended up finding out that somebody actually had committed suicide there later in that room. So
that was them.
Yeah,
they were going to try and drive you to it.
I don't know.
Like, we're going to keep them up all night.
Nope,
maybe they'll kill themselves and join us.
See, now the funny thing is, with me being an artist and doing conventions around the country, I kind of became embraced by the paranormal community.
Sure.
I have done conventions at that hotel.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you had any kind of experience in your life, or?
When I was growing up in high school, my 2 best friends both had haunted houses.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of things.
That you just can't explain.
I've watched glasses on their own slide down entire lengths of counters.
Really?
I've watched doors slam open and close.
Physical haunting things.
I've watched things fly across rooms.
I dig it.
Yeah.
You need to come over to my house more. We got the other night, well, it's probably about 2 months ago now, but I got woken up by boots coming up our steps. And we got an older house. It was built in 25, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know my husband, he's a big, scary guy.
Yeah.
But it sounded like him walking up the steps. But he's in bed next to me. So I'm thinking, oh, crap, who's in the house?
Right.
And so I sit up, and I hear these boot prints coming down the steps, or across the hallway, into our room. Mm-hmm. Door swings open a little bit. Nothing. We'll hear kids giggle upstairs. I love it because my husband's he just thinks this is all a bunch of hooey.
Right.
You know? So one day we were sitting in the living room, and all of a sudden we hear the doorknob turn to the front door, and the door swings open. And he looks at me. I'm just like, oh, it's just the wind.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I'm done telling you so.
I just,
fix the door.
Now I just ignore it. You know? Exactly.
Poor guy. As it turns into pop culture and video games are a big part of pop culture, as are a lot of weird paranormal things. Ghostbusters have their own games. We discovered there was a game for... what was I playing? It was awful. I can't remember what it was.
Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters.
There was Ghostbusters 2. I mean, they got them on all kinds of things as far as paranormal and like Addams Family and horror-based. There was one about Frankenstein. Nothing to do with Frankenstein. It looked like Castlevania, except it wasn't that good either. They got some on Bigfoot, but it wasn't Bigfoot. It was a monster truck Bigfoot. It was Bigfoot, but it wasn't Bigfoot. Anyways, so there's a variety of older games I know that deal with more horror stuff. Friday the 13th has a new one for Xbox where you're Jason and you go around and murder some people.
Ghostbusters news.
Ghostbusters news. If anybody hasn't seen, there's a teaser trailer that came out of Ghostbusters 3, the original cast.
Not the reboot.
Minus
So
Spangler.
exciting.
Not the reboot, which the reboot was good for what it was. I thought it was really funny, honestly. And I had met Slimer when she came up to the convention, and her and I hit it off. We were best friends. And her and her husband kept coming by. She kept giving hugs to me and my wife, and she was just
She's a hugger.
She was the sweetest person, and they were also in Beverly Hills Cop. I found out.
I've done a show with Ernie Hudson.
And Ernie Hudson's a really
Super
cool
nice
guy,
guy.
and
Super
Bill
nice
Murray.
guy. Yeah.
Bill Murray. I mean, there's books about Bill Murray going and doing stuff. There's like a whole website I think dedicated to Bill Murray just being Bill Murray, which is great. Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd.
He's
Dan
still got a
Aykroyd.
huge place in my heart. I
Wasn't
love
his brother and him really into ghosts and
His
stuff?
his
Yeah.
grandfather was a spiritualist and ghost hunter.
Yeah.
And that's how he got into it. And I think actually Ghostbusters has probably done more to bring light on paranormal research than any movie.
Probably. Yeah, because they had guys from
sure.
scientists from each walk of life there, and well, Ernie Hudson, who would drive. I guess that was his job was driving.
Yeah, the street smarts
Yeah,
going
the
on.
street smarts. Yeah, exactly. And but no, that was a big part of my youth, and it turned me on to. It wasn't scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They made it funny and stuff like that. But no, it'd be good to see. I mean, minus Spangler getting everybody back together, but Jason Reitman, I believe, is directing it. Ivan Reitman's kid.
Yep. Okay.
But the fact that they show the ecto and you can hear
Yeah,
the proton
so
pack trying to
exciting.
fire up. You know it's Ray just tinkering in the garage, man,
Yep.
just trying to get things going again or some big event, and it's gonna be. I'm super excited for it. Go get Julie's book. Go get it right now. Get on Amazon while you're listening or watching this, and then go ahead and just get it. Go get it.
Amen.
Yep. Oh, there it is. You don't even need me now.
And you know
You guys.
the thing I really like about that book and the tours, it's not just about ghosts, but there's slices of history, the things around you.
And that's
Yeah.
good.
The thing I never knew, the first escape attempted by
Houdini.
Really?
hanging with the straitjacket hanging off the sidewalk was done here in Grand Rapids.
Really? Oh man.
Things you
That's
learn
exciting.
on the tour.
Yeah. Oh, that's good then.
I always said the best review we ever got was somebody wrote, I was tricked into reading a history book, but I loved it.
and we're
'Cause there
big-
is a lot
and we're
more
big-
history
and, you
than-
know, history, paranormal, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean that's a good way to keep you educated on history and learn some new stuff at the same time.
Well, a lot of people be like, you got 3 authors. Why 3 authors? And like, you have no idea the number of hours of research are in that book.
I bet.
It's insane.
Well, make sure and warn your husband that I'm going to come to your house so I can see ghosts
I
and
will,
have
for sure.
dinner, and that's going to
Bring
be
it
fun. I'll make sure Roger and I will come out. Make sure I'll bring some delicious puck cider
You absolutely should.
because puck cider is wonderful and it's crisp and it's made of apples and ciders
Nature.
and stuff.
Nature.
Could use some right now.
Sciencey stuff. I can tell you where to get some when we get off the air. But check them out, Puck Cider. They're on Facebook. They're in stores throughout Michigan.
West Michigan.
Michigan,
Yeah.
West Michigan. They're booming and they're moving. They're trying to get into Detroit. So best of luck to them for that. But they have delicious flavors. They have a strawberry rhubarb, cinnamon ginger pear, tart cherry barrel aged, and so they got some regular just hearts. Fantastic stuff. I mean, I'm a little biased. I live with the guy, but they're doing dynamite stuff anyways. We're gonna get them on the show one of these times so they can. We'll talk about local ciders and we'll figure out a way to tie that into pop culture, or we'll just get drunk and talk about pop culture. Okay. One of the two.
Hey, I'll
One of
be
those
into
things will
that.
happen. And don't forget, we need you guys to share and subscribe to the world and beyond. I hear they're picking up radio signals in Canada that are coming from light years away, billions of light years away. So I'm thinking there's a way that we can spread this to the rest of the universe if we try hard enough. Believe in yourselves, the way I believe in you. But 200 plus people to subscribe, share us, get the word out there. We're going to give you Roger's Meat Puppets film.
Meat Puppets, the movie.
We're going to put it up for you. And
Best
then,
movie ever.
Best movie
Ever.
Look at that.
Hey, praise reviews from our
I
guests.
cried,
We'll
I
take
laughed.
it. Julie, it was a pleasure. This is fascinating and interesting. My family and I are going to come on your tour. We're all going to become best friends. We're going to
Can't
get
wait.
we're going to get a haunted house together and like one of the big tandem bikes for like the whole family. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It'll be great.
I look forward to it.
It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Always good to see you, sir.
I'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
I hope so. People don't want me
Do
sitting
you
here
have a
talking.
choice?
Yeah,
He's like, no, I'm back anyway.
And people don't want me sitting here talking to myself all day. Believe me, my wife has.
No one knows this. I'm actually chained to this couch. I
true.
don't leave at the end of the show.
We just slide a dish across the floor to him, and he's good to go. But my wife has to sit and listen to me talk about these kind of things, and she's lost interest. So now I have to find a bigger audience.
Years, my husband just blocks me out.
I got to find a bigger audience, and here we are, kids. All right, so
I've been talking to myself for years.
Right.
So.
All right. On behalf of everyone in the group, production staff, come back and see us. It was fun for the next story time. All right. Bye.